groups into our orbit, not as a boss, but as those seeking to protect the bottom of the social ladder. That's the bottom line. I cannot protect my status without raising the bottom of the social ladder, because I am going to fall there, and it's just a matter of time. Thank you.
The single payer movement has been relatively elitist and very white, and that's been problematic. And it has to fervently go to the bottom and communicate with folks and learn how to do that. I mean, there are small business people organizing for single payer. Many of them are Republicans. So we can't discount people automatically, absolutely. And the organization that I'm a part of, the Private Health Insurance Plus Gold Coalition, is also nonpartisan, but it's not ideologically free or neutral. I mean, we're trying to build a left movement in this country that brings various social movements together to push back neoliberalism and privatization, of which the single payer struggle is one. But we have to, it's one. We need to have fingers into a fist in order to make capacity to do that. So learning how to speak to people is essential. I came here somewhat shrill because I know the audience here, but we have to be, and as you'll be kind of forgive me, but we have to be able to explain with hyperbolic language and self-righteous tones how this Obama legislation actually makes the healthcare crisis worse, and is not in your self-interest, and do it in a manner that is clear and does not get us disoriented to the wonkiness of that legislation as we push single payer. But we have to do it as educators, as people who are willing to learn from the people we're speaking to and back and forth. That's a strategic process in and of itself.
The single-payer congressional candidates that you're talking about running in 2012. Now, I'm interested, what is your conception? I mean, what is the auspices under which they would run, and what would be the relationship to Green Party congressional candidates, of which there will be many who basically will all be for single-payer? I mean, can we have some kind of an alliance there? What is your conception of that?
Can we just both do our thing and then?
Sure.
So, Margaret, Miriam, Douglas Ngaro from Washington, we're still supposed to have lunch, and I'm really glad that this worked out, that we arranged this. I'm really glad you're here, and I'm glad I'm here. Ajamu Dillahunt?
Sankofa.
Okay, Sankofa. All right, solid. Okay. And I don't know the other gentleman's name, but speaking of communities of color, the Black American community, I'm from Washington, D.C., D.C. Statehood Green Party, and we are not a state. We do not have voting representatives in Congress, and we have no senators, but we have this critical, amen, Howard University, Freedman's Hospital.
All right, my nephew went to Howard University.
Okay.
And his wife.
But we have a critical community that is extremely hyper-conscious of health issues. And I'm thinking about the Black medical community. My uncle, who passed away a couple of years ago in New Jersey, Dr. Reuben Nichols, and he was known as the ghetto doctor in Newark. When he started practice in Alabama, he's a graduate of Howard Medical School, he took poultry and fruits and vegetables in payment. That's the kind of person that he was and continue to be to the end of his life. And there's a lot of Black American doctors. I'm wondering about the National Medical Association. Not that everybody, and I'm asking particularly the two Black folks here, not that everybody is going to sign on. And I'm not sure if NMA, because a lot of people don't know, Black people have had their own institutions when we could not join, including Black professionals. The American Medical Association didn't admit Black doctors. But does the NMA have a policy? And also for Black physicians, like in Washington, in your major Black communities, there are a lot of people who already know that we need single payer. Thank you.
Great. So the first question, this is still in its early stages. So there's been some discussion of using a tactic that was used back during the Prohibition era called the Nonpartisan League, where they actually examined each district individually and looked at what would be the best strategy to win in that district. And we have the ability to get that data and do that analysis through the groups that we're working with. So it may be that will be the tactic that we take, and certainly, where there would be options to run successfully independent candidates who are strong on single payer, that would be ideal.
I mean, you wouldn't be running against Green Party candidates. That would be, to me, problematic. You'd have you have two single payer candidates there.
We'd love you to get involved and work with us, to figure out the best way to do this. Our goal is to push, to build that solid voting power and push this as far as we can in a way that we can do that.
I don't understand. You would run this slate of very progressive single-payer candidates against Green Party candidates? It doesn't.
No, I didn't say that.
No, but what is your conception of that relationship?
Right. So what I'm saying is that it hasn't been fully worked out yet.
We had some experience with that on a low level. Because we operating a lot within the UAW, we have to deal with local unions. Local unions are individual units attached to a particular factory. For instance, I worked at Mound Road Engine. It's a Chrysler engine plant. The people there belong to local number 51. That's how I identify myself. Our group, when we attacked the issue of political representatives and people running to the convention, we took a position that whoever won, right, needed to take a stand and push for the union to get involved with a single payer system. I'm saying that in the sense that if we would have went the other way, we would have alienated people, and we would have prevented ourselves from being able to get across our message. We did not take or show any kind of prejudice towards any candidate. Whoever won, where do you stand on this issue? Right? Whoever won, we asked them, would you advance this issue at the convention? Any other way, man, we get involved in political squabbles we can't afford. And there's nothing wrong with a couple of people running that support the same thing. If you are about pushing a single issue, right now we're pushing a single issue. We're not a political party or nothing. I mean, we want a single payer system. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
A single payer system party. There's been some talk about that as well, but again, it's still very much in the early stages. And you are a single payer party. Yes, you are. About reaching out to. Yeah. So the National Medical Association, to my knowledge, has not endorsed single payer. It's certainly an organization that we would like to work with. I've met with some of their representatives just from being in hearings with them in Congress and spoken to them. And recently, in the last few months, have been receiving the journal of the NMA at my home, which I did not sign up for. So I think that's a very positive sign that they're interested in maybe moving in this direction, and we would be happy to meet with the NMA and work with them, and certainly that's one of our priorities. In terms of, getting out into the community and speaking to people, I think, Marion, was that your other piece?
Well, the DC is not a state, and we're very critical in terms of healthcare practitioners. And I also like to hear from John and the other gentlemen.
Yeah.
They have some comments about the black condition.
Yeah, please.
I think there's a crisis of consciousness among black professionals generally right now, vis-a-vis political decisions. And you had the NAACP endorsing H.R. 676 and doing absolutely nothing about it. But Quentin Young, who is the founder of PNHP, was Martin Luther King's physician and a very strong stalwart. And there are some African American physicians in PNHP. The National Medical Association, no, it has not, but I think it has a lot to do with the consciousness of black professionals right now who identify with Barack Obama as a professional and